Hey guys, it's Chris again here, CaribbeanPot.com. Thanks you guys for making the channel so popular. Remember, if you're watching this video on YouTube, on the right side above me here, it's going to say subscribe. Click on the subscribe button. Below you're going to see the thumbs up. Give it a thumbs up, as well as leave your comments in the comment section below. Today we're going to be making fried chana, and here is basically what it's going to look like when we're all done. This is the fried chana, and for those of you who are not familiar with fried chana, it's basically chickpeas that are soaked overnight and then deep fried. However, we're going to do this a little bit different, a little bit of a healthier version, using less oil and infusing it more with the garlic and everything else. Now traditionally, this is done, it's soaked, it's drained, fried in oil, and then tossed with pepper and garlic and salt and everything else. However, we're going to do things a little bit differently, as in the video you're about to see, where we're going to actually season the chickpeas or chana before we stick it in the oven to infuse everything. The roasted garlic, the pepper, the shado bene. Guys, you won't believe the smell once this thing hits the oven and the heat gets going. Couple things I gotta mention, guys. I'm trying my best to give you a bit of a healthier version. You can always deep fry it if you want. That's totally up to you. And the second thing is, in the video, I think there are times when I said I use either 2 or 3 tablespoons of olive oil when doing this. I didn't realize I can cut back quite a bit on that. So maybe 1 tablespoon or 1.5 tablespoons of good olive oil will work just as well. My version is a little bit greasy, and the whole idea was to cut back on the grease. So here we go, guys. Fried chana, but I guess it's oven roasted chana. Similar to beer nuts, it's great for snacking. It's going to be a little bit spicy with the pepper and the garlic and everything else. But guys, you won't believe how tasty this is going to be, especially if you're having some beers or beverages with your friends. Guys, I do hope the lighting is okay, but in this bowl here, it is nighttime. I just have the kitchen lights on. I don't have the natural light from the window coming in. But in this bowl, what I've got is 2 cups of chickpeas, dried chickpeas, or dried chanas, it would be called in Trinidad and Tobago. In about, I think there are 4 cups of water, just plain old water. You have to soak this overnight. It's going to plump up, so that's the reason for adding a lot more water. It is going to plump up, and this is basically it. But remember, guys, we're doing this the night before, just to have enough time for it to soak and for it to soften up with the water. So 2 cups of dried chickpeas, 4 cups of water in a bowl. You can leave it on your kitchen counter overnight, and the next part of the video will show you how to actually prepare the chickpeas. So after I've had the chickpeas or chana soaking overnight in water, if you guys recall, the water was about 1 inch higher than the actual chickpeas. It was double the amount of water than chickpeas in here, but the water have been absorbed into the chickpeas. So it's almost doubled in size. What I want to do next here is give it a good rinse. Actually, drain the water out, give it a good rinse, and then I'm going to put it into the strainer, because we want to get as much water out of this as possible. It may also mean putting them onto the paper towels just to soak up a lot of that water that's going to be with them. So along with the chickpeas or chana that I've soaked overnight, now I've drained, they're pretty much dry here. It's been sitting in the colander for quite a while now. I've got some shado bene, 3 cloves of garlic, half of a hot pepper. In this case I'm using a habanero pepper. You can use a Scotch bonnet pepper. I've got 3 tablespoons of extra virgin olive oil here. We're going to need some salt, maybe about 1 tablespoon of salt, as well as about half a teaspoon of fresh ground black pepper. What I'm going to do, I'm going to chop the shado bene, the garlic, and the pepper very, very finely. Add it to the oil here to infuse it, and then we're going to assemble everything before we put it into the oven. So I've gone ahead and I've chopped up the garlic, the hot pepper. Guys, I didn't use the seeds of the hot pepper. simply because it's going to be overbearingly hot. The other option besides using fresh pepper, you can use pepper sauce or hot sauce, or if you want, a nice touch would be using some cayenne, some powdered cayenne powder for this. In the bowl here, I have the 3 tablespoons of good olive oil. It worked out to about 2 tablespoons of chopped shadow benny. If you can't get shadow benny, you can also use cilantro. Parsley would probably be a good option as well too, but I would cut back on the parsley a little bit, maybe about 1 tablespoon of parsley. What else do we have in here? And I have the black pepper. What I'm going to do now is add that to the dried. Remember, we soaked it overnight, but now I used some paper towels and I dried it all up. The chickpeas, it's all in here now. But first, I'm just going to give this a good stir. Then I'm going to add it to the bowl with the dried chickpeas or chana. And then I'm going to add the 1 tablespoon of salt that I mentioned earlier. Just want to show you guys what I have going here. I've also lined a cookie sheet, a deep cookie sheet here with tin foil. And we're going to, after we've added the chopped herbs and garlic and pepper and everything to the chickpeas as well as the salt, we're just going to line it out onto the pan here before, that's the cord for my overhead lighting, before we actually stick it in the oven. We're going to stick it into the oven for about 50 minutes at about 350 degrees. That's all I'm doing here is I want to stir this really well after adding all the herbs and garlic and olive oil and everything else, because you want the pieces of garlic and shadow benny, or if you're using cilantro, to really stick to the as well as the hot pepper, to stick to the grains of chickpeas or chana here, because you really want to pick up all the flavors. Remember guys, we've gone through all the steps now. The final step is to just pour it onto this cookie sheet here. We're hoping that the cookie sheet is big enough so there's a single layer. I'm going to stick it into the oven then for 50 minutes at 350 degrees. But maybe halfway through, I'm just going to take it out, toss it a bit on there, just because we want to get all of it nice and crispy. It's going to form a nice crispy, crunchy exterior that's going to be infused with all the spices and garlic and pepper and everything else. Guys, this is just a non-traditional way of doing this. Normally, this is deep fried. But I'm thinking we got to try and do things a little bit healthier, so this is why I'm baking it with the olive oil instead of frying it. The seasoned raw chickpeas is now fully prepped. It's on the baking sheet, as you can see. I've got the oven up at 350 degrees. We're just going to stick it in the oven, middle shelf, 50 minutes. Halfway through, we're just going to toss them up because we'd prefer this to be single layer, but because the amount of chickpeas I soaked overnight, it's a bit it's a bit much for the small baking sheet that I have here. So I have it on it's double layer pretty much. So I'm gonna have to toss this during the time it's baking in the oven. Keep an eye on it, toss it. We'll be good to go, guys. Here's the final product, guys. The chana was, well, it's supposed to be fried chana, but we did it in the oven. Remember guys, this is going to be spicy. You may have to add a little bit more salt depending on your tolerance for salt. But like beer nuts and all those other salted peanuts and everything else, which is great when you're drinking beer and having a good time with friends and stuff like that. This makes for a great snack like that. I guess it should be rather healthy as well for you because we didn't fry it. You can also, I use 3 tablespoons of olive oil. You can cut that back, and I'm guessing you can probably get away with about 1.5 tablespoons of the olive oil. But this is it, guys, the finished product. Fried chana. One thing I forgot to mention in the video, and this is an afterthought, is that after this is done in the oven, it's wonderful when it's still warm. However, it can be stored in an airtight container for a couple weeks at least. Remember, you got to put it in an airtight container. If you're down in the Caribbean, especially Trinidad and Tobago, you will see these being sold in empty rum bottles. Well, what else? Rum bottles, right? But an airtight container and you're good to go.